Blue Origin just pulled off something that made SpaceX executives lose sleep. 7 BE-4 engines, fully assembled, ready for Mars. But the timing reveals a desperate truth. While they were taking photos, SpaceX built 100-plus engines in dominated space. Can this last-ditch effort save Blue Origin, or did they just prove it's game over? Let's dive right in. Those images Dave Limp posted weren't just corporate flexing. They were a declaration of war. 7 BE-4 engines, each costing $20 million, sitting ready in their rocket park facility like sleeping giants waiting to wake up. But here's what sent shockwaves through Hawthorne. The timing was surgical. While SpaceX celebrated another Starship explosion in testing, Blue Origin quietly revealed they had real, flight-ready engines. Not prototypes, not test articles. Production engines ready to fly to Mars. Each BE-4 generates 550,000 pounds of thrust, enough power to launch a Boeing 747 straight into orbit. 7 of them together? That's enough raw force to move mountains. Literally. SpaceX suddenly realized they weren't just competing with another space company. They were facing their worst nightmare, a competitor who'd been quietly solving problems while they made headlines. Here's where this gets absolutely insane. Those 7 BE-4 engines represent 6 months of Blue Origin's total production capacity. SpaceX builds that many Raptor engines in a single week. 1 engine per day versus 7 engines per 6 months. The math is devastating. But wait, there's a twist that changes everything. SpaceX's Raptor engines have exploded during tests, failed during flights, required constant redesigns. Elon Musk himself admitted they've had to cut engines open for repairs. The Raptor 3 looks like a skeleton compared to earlier versions because they keep stripping away parts that break. Blue Origin's approach? Each BE-4 is handcrafted perfection. Months of assembly, extensive testing, zero tolerance for failure. They've been building these engines for over a decade, perfecting every component. So who's winning? The company that builds fast and breaks things, or the company that builds once and builds right? The January 16th failure might hold the answer. New Glenn's first flight should have been Blue Origin's triumph. After 20 years of development, Jeff Bezos's rocket finally reached space. The world watched as this massive vehicle performed flawlessly until the landing attempt. The booster crashed into the ocean. Mission failure. The post-flight analysis was devastating. 3 BE-4 engines failed to reignite. Propellant management systems malfunctioned. Engine control went haywire. The very engines Blue Origin had spent years perfecting were the weak link. SpaceX fans celebrated online. Blue Origin can't even land a rocket, they mocked. Stick to space tourism, Jeff. Industry experts whispered that Blue Origin was finished. How could they compete with SpaceX when their crown jewel technology failed on the biggest stage? But what if that failure was exactly what Blue Origin needed? Look at those engine photos again. Something's wrong. 5 engines are wrapped in protective covers. 2 face away from the camera. Why hide certain angles? Industry analysts who studied the images noticed modification marks on the engine bells. New wiring harnesses, updated control systems, fresh welds where there shouldn't be any. These aren't just 7 engines sitting in storage. These are 7 solutions to the January failure. Every engine has been rebuilt from the ground up using lessons learned from that crash. New ignition systems based on failure analysis. Improved propellant flow designed to prevent the exact problems that killed the first landing. Enhanced engine control algorithms that can handle the conditions that made 3 engines fail. Blue Origin didn't just replace broken engines, they built better engines. August 2024. NASA's Escapade mission to Mars. Twin spacecraft designed to study the Martian magnetosphere. If Blue Origin succeeds, they beat SpaceX to the red planet. Think about that headline. Blue Origin reaches Mars while SpaceX still testing Starship. Elon Musk has obsessed over Mars for 2 decades. It's supposed to be SpaceX's destiny, their ultimate goal. But Blue Origin could get there first with a mission that actually works, while SpaceX is still figuring out how to stop Starship from exploding. The pressure is astronomical because Mars launch windows only open every 26 months, Miss August and Blue Origin waits until 2026. That's 2 more years for SpaceX to catch up and potentially leap ahead again. But there's a problem that could destroy everything. Where's the booster? We've seen the engines. We've seen the upper stage. We've seen the payload. But we haven't seen the massive first stage booster that actually gets everything off the ground. Building a booster isn't just assembling parts. It requires months of integration, testing, fueling trials, and static fire tests. We're already in late July. The August launch window is weeks away. If that booster doesn't appear soon and pass all its tests perfectly, the Mars mission gets delayed. Delay the Mars mission, and Blue Origin loses their chance to beat SpaceX to another planet. But here's the part that should terrify Blue Origin executives. They're not just racing SpaceX, they're racing physics itself. We've seen the engines, we've seen the upper stage, we've seen the payload, but we haven't seen the massive first stage booster that actually gets everything off the ground. Building a booster isn't just assembling parts. It requires months of integration, testing, fueling trials, and static fire tests. We're already in late July. The August launch window is weeks away. If that booster doesn't appear soon and pass all its tests perfectly, the Mars mission gets delayed. Delay the Mars mission, and Blue Origin loses their chance to beat SpaceX to another planet. But here's the part that should terrify Blue Origin executives. They're not just racing SpaceX, they're racing physics itself. United Launch Alliance's Vulcan rocket uses 2 BE-4 engines per flight. ULA has been waiting for engines for over 3 years. Their entire rocket program depends on Blue Origin's engine supply. When Blue Origin shows off 7 engines for their own Mars mission, where does that leave ULA? How many engines is Blue Origin actually producing? Are they prioritizing their own missions over paying customers? The engine shortage could destroy partnerships and kill Blue Origin's reputation before they even prove themselves. ULA executives probably weren't celebrating those photos. They were panicking about their own delayed missions. This creates a devastating choice. Support ULA and delay their own Mars mission, or abandon their customer and risk their credibility. While Blue Origin was perfecting engines, SpaceX was perfecting something more dangerous: the ability to fail fast and learn faster. Every Starship explosion teaches SpaceX something new. Every Raptor engine failure gets analyzed, solved, and integrated into the next design. They've turned failure into a competitive advantage. Raptor 1 had 600 parts. Raptor 2 simplified that to 400 parts. Raptor 3 has even fewer components. Each generation gets simpler, cheaper, more reliable. SpaceX has produced thousands of engines and flown hundreds of missions. Blue Origin's BE-4, still using essentially the same design from 5 years ago. Reliable, yes, but static. SpaceX optimizes for learning speed. Blue Origin optimizes for perfection. In a rapidly evolving industry, which philosophy wins? The numbers are brutal. SpaceX has completed over 300 successful launches. Blue Origin has 1 partially successful launch. This isn't just about rockets. Jeff Bezos didn't build Blue Origin to compete with SpaceX. He built it to support Amazon's space ambitions. Project Kuiper needs hundreds of satellite launches to compete with Starlink. Every New Glenn's success brings Amazon closer to space-based internet dominance. Every delay gives SpaceX more time to lock up the satellite internet market. Blue Origin isn't just racing to Mars. They're racing to save Amazon's future in space communications. Can precision engineering overcome mass production? Can patient development beat rapid iteration? Those 7 engines represent Blue Origin's philosophy. Do it right the first time. But SpaceX's philosophy is different. Do it fast, learn from failures, iterate quickly. SpaceX, 100+ launches this year alone. Thousands of engines built and tested. Blue Origin, 7 engines, hoping for 1 perfect mission. The gap isn't just technical, it's operational, financial, and strategic. SpaceX has multiple revenue streams and profitable operations. Blue Origin is burning through Bezos's billions with limited income. But here's what makes this story incredible. Blue Origin might not need to beat SpaceX. They just need to prove they belong in the same conversation. If they successfully launch to Mars in August, suddenly the space industry has 2 legitimate players instead of 1 dominant force. Competition drives innovation. Two companies pushing each other creates breakthroughs neither could achieve alone. SpaceX has been largely unchallenged for years. What happens when they face real competition from a company with unlimited funding and a different engineering philosophy? The August Mars launch isn't just a mission. It's Blue Origin's final exam. Pass, and they become a legitimate SpaceX competitor overnight. Fail, and they become a cautionary tale about billionaire space dreams. Every engine firing, every system check, every countdown brings us closer to the answer. Will Blue Origin's patient, methodical approach prove that slow and steady wins the race? Or will SpaceX's rapid iteration philosophy continue to dominate? But there's one more secret that could change everything about this competition. Here's what Blue Origin really revealed with those engine photos. They're not trying to beat SpaceX at their own game. They're playing an entirely different game. While SpaceX chases headlines with explosive tests, Blue Origin has been quietly building the infrastructure for something bigger. Those 7 engines, they're not just for one Mars mission. They're proof that methodical engineering can create sustainable space access. The August launch will answer the ultimate question: can patience triumph over speed in the new space race? But here's the twist nobody's talking about. What if both approaches are necessary? SpaceX pushes boundaries and breaks barriers. Blue Origin builds the reliable systems that make space routine. Maybe the real winner isn't who gets to Mars first. Maybe it's humanity getting 2 completely different paths to the stars. The space industry is about to change forever. And honestly, we're just getting started. What do you think happens when these 2 titans finally go head-to-head? Drop your predictions below, and let's see who calls it right. The future of space might depend on it. Elon Musk hates Dragon's water landings. Why? Every splash means his Mars dream is failing. In 2019, Dragon exploded testing his secret fix, a landing system so dangerous NASA banned it. But Musk found something crazier. What if I told you Dragon might be retired soon for this insane solution? Will this risky gamble save or destroy SpaceX's future? Let's dive right in. Back in 2014, something was eating at Elon Musk. While the world celebrated Dragon's flawless ocean recoveries, Musk was secretly furious. Each splash represented a fundamental engineering dead end that could destroy his Mars colonization timeline forever. Here's what nobody understood. Mars doesn't have oceans. More critically, Mars has virtually no atmosphere, just 1% of Earth's density. Those beautiful parachutes that worked so perfectly on Earth, completely worthless on Mars. Every water landing was proof that SpaceX was still trapped in 1960s Apollo technology, while the clock ticked toward planetary alignment windows that only open every 26 months. But Musk had a crazy solution brewing, one so dangerous that NASA would eventually ban it outright. In 2014, Musk ordered his engineers to attempt the impossible: make a spacecraft land like a rocket. Not with parachutes, not in water, but hovering in midair using pure engine power before touching down on solid ground. They called it Propulsive landing, and it required 8 Super Draco engines, each pumping out 16,000 pounds of thrust. That's enough combined force to make a 14,000-pound capsule hover like a UFO. In 2016, they actually did it. At their McGregor facility, Dragon hovered 5 feet above Texas soil for several seconds, defying every assumption about spacecraft recovery. This wasn't just a tech demo. This was survival technology for Mars. Think about it. When you're screaming toward Mars at thousands of miles per hour, parachutes are basically tissue paper. The only way to land anything heavy on the red planet is rockets firing at the last second to slow you down. No exceptions, no alternatives. So when Musk watched Dragon splash into Earth's oceans, he wasn't seeing success. He was seeing proof that his current technology was useless for the mission that mattered most. This obsession spawned Red Dragon, a secret 2018 mission to land an unmanned Dragon on Mars using pure rocket power. It would prove propulsive landing could work on another planet and open the door for human colonization. The timeline was insane. The technology was untested. But Musk was determined to beat the 2018 Mars launch window, an opportunity that wouldn't come again until 2020. Then reality struck like a meteor. NASA took one look at Musk's rocket-powered landing system and essentially said, "You want our astronauts riding a controlled explosion to the ground? Absolutely not." Their concerns weren't paranoia. Dragon's heat shield had tiny gaps where landing legs would deploy. NASA engineers calculated that during re-entry at 17,000 miles per hour, these openings could become superheated weak points, potentially tearing the capsule apart with crew inside. The certification process alone would take years and hundreds of millions of dollars. But the real death blow came in 2017, when NASA pulled funding for the Mars sample return mission that would have used Red Dragon. Without that financial backing, the Mars dream got shelved. Musk was forced to focus on a more embarrassing problem. America couldn't even get its own astronauts to space. Despite the setbacks, SpaceX kept working on propulsive landing as a backup system. The plan seemed perfect. Try rocket landing first, deploy parachutes if anything went wrong. April 20th, 2019 shattered that illusion forever. During a routine ground test, Crew Dragon capsule C-204 exploded in a spectacular fireball visible for miles. The blast was so violent it sent debris flying hundreds of feet and completely destroyed months of work in seconds. The cause? A faulty valve leaked highly toxic propellant that ignited catastrophically. In that moment, everyone realized rocket-powered landings weren't just technically challenging, they were potentially lethal for astronauts. For a program where crew safety is everything, that explosion was a death sentence for propulsive landing as a primary system. After C-204's destruction, SpaceX made the devastating decision to abandon propulsive landing for crew missions. Those 8 Super Draco engines got demoted to emergency-only duty. Musk's revolutionary landing system became a backup to the backup, only to be used if all 4 main parachutes somehow failed during descent. Even then, it would splash into the ocean, not land gracefully on solid ground. This compromise has worked flawlessly since 2019. Dragon's parachute system has never failed. Dozens of astronauts have safely returned via ocean splashdown. Mission accomplished, right? Dead wrong. Because while SpaceX was perfecting parachute landings, Musk was